Hey everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Annie and I am here on the internet to help you turn your hair into your favorite accessory. So today is part 2 of getting our healthiest hair in 2025. If you missed the first video, it was just some tips and tricks of how to implement some healthy hair habits into your routine now so that we can get into our hair goals. And today we are going to be assessing our hair and where it's at. Because before we can get to our goal, we have to know where we're starting from to build a routine and find products that's going to get us to our healthiest hair in 2025. I'm on this journey with you, so after I go through the questions, the next video is I'm going to be talking through my answers of how my hair is and everything like that. Knowing what our hair condition is right now is so important to build a foundation and to build habits and a routine and products to help us lead to our healthiest hair. So here are some questions to help assess your hair and where it's at right now. We're going to be going through how it feels, looks, and acts. And let's get started. How does your hair feel? Does it feel dry and rough? When you run your fingers through your hair, if it feels kind of straw-like, you might have dry hair. And if it feels like it snags, you probably have dry hair. Dry hair also often looks kind of dull and lacks shine because it doesn't reflect light well from the hair shaft. And it's more prone to tangle, breaking, and damage. So if you notice that you have a lot of damage, you probably have dry and rough hair. When your hair feels dry and rough, it usually means that you're lacking natural oils and moisture in your hair. The cuticle layer, which is the outside of your hair, is damaged and raised, and that's why it feels bumpy and that's why it causes your hair to feel coarse and a little bit brittle. Does your hair feel oily or limp? This one's pretty self-explanatory. So if your roots are slippery and like slick looking, but not in like a healthy way, then you probably have oily hair. And it usually tends to clump together and look a little stringy, and it probably is heavy and lacks volume. When your hair is oily and limp, that means that your scalp is producing a lot more natural oils than what you can keep up with. This doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you need to make sure that your routine and products are tailored to this. And too much sebum in your hair can really weigh it down and have you lack a lot of volume. Does your hair feel flat and fine? If your hair is super soft and almost like slippery, you probably have very fine hair. Fine hair can also look pretty thin and sparse because the diameter of the actual hair itself is a lot smaller than coarse hair or people with thicker hair. It can also look really flat and like stick to your head because it's so small in diameter, it really can't hold any form or shape. Fine and limp hair can be weighed down by products if it isn't the right products, and using really thick and heavy conditioners are no-go. Fine and thin hair is more of a texture issue and can be genetic. So if somebody else in your family has fine hair, it's probably more genetic, and it's just a lot harder to have volume in your hair unless you're using products that's helping to really lift your hair and are a lot lighter on your hair. Is your hair more prone to breakage and split ends? Now, split ends and breakage are a little bit different, but they both do mean that you have damaged hair. Okay, so when it comes to hair breakage, here's a few different things that can indicate that you have breakage as opposed to just split ends. Breakage can be short and uneven parts of your hair. And if you notice that maybe like one side of your hair is shorter than the other, it's probably breakage. If you have more of a rough texture when you run your fingers through your hair and you feel little bumps, that's breakage. Excessive shedding could also be breakage, especially if when you're brushing your hair or styling your hair and they're just like short little bits, that's breakage. And if you feel like your hair feels weak and fragile and it just seems like your hair does not grow. Now your hair is growing, it's just breaking off at the ends. Okay, so split ends can be categorized a lot of different ways, but here are the main things when it comes to split ends. So look at your ends and see if they're like frayed and like tree-like, or a Y is sometimes how people say. If your hair lacks smoothness, and also if like you get at the ends and it gets really tangly there, like up here it's smooth, but then down here you're kind of like, it kind of takes a little bit of effort, you probably have split ends. If you have thin little wispy ends, even like, let's say like you hold your hair like this and like up here looks thick and then down here is pretty thin, you most likely have split ends and the ends are splitting and breaking off. If you also notice little white tips at the ends of your hair, That's another indicator of split ends. There are more hair types and textures that are more prone to breakage and split ends, and those are dry and curly hair and fine hair, as well as those who have habits of like over bleaching or using chemical treatments, over heat styling, and just like being really rough when brushing your hair. Do you notice excess shedding or thinning? Now, it is normal to like shed hair throughout the day, and that's about 50 to 100 strands a day. But if you notice that there's clumps on your pillow or like a lot when you're showering, that might be an indicator of excess shedding. Our hair goes through different phases of hair growth. So if it's just kind of like seasonal, then you're probably okay. But if it goes on for a lot longer, then there might be a little bit of an issue. So if you notice that you have like sparse around your hairline or your part seems to be a little bit wider, you need to switch over your part. That's just a quick tip. But also you might notice that you can see your scalp through your hairline. That might be that you have excess shedding and thinning. Thinning usually means that it is about the diameter of the hair, like fine hair. So you need to start building it up, or sometimes it is just genetic or based off of like your hair routine, your diet, or some kind of medical issue that's underlying. What's your natural hair's porosity? And when it comes to porosity, it means like how much does your hair absorb water or moisture. So if you have low porosity hair, it takes a lot longer for your hair to dry and absorb products, oils, and water. So you can have a lot of product buildup if you use too much or really heavy products, and your hair can feel soft and shiny, which is great, but you want to avoid protein treatments or a lot of products with protein in it. Now, if you have high porosity hair, your hair literally sucks anything up that touches it. So my hair is more of the high porosity where it just like dries really, really fast, especially my ends, mainly because I do have bleached hair, and you can get more high porosity hair if you bleach your hair a lot. Or if you have more damaged hair, because it feels a little bit like dry and dull, and you do want to use more protein treatments. Don't overdo it, but you want to include some protein treatments to help build back up your hair and to help it hold on to that moisture and just kind of absorb it a little bit better. Now, you might have normal hair porosity if your hair is like, it takes product really well and it absorbs, and if your hair dries at like a normal speed. Does your hair look lifeless, limp, or dull? Lifeless hair like lacks volume and body. It may cling to your head more, kind of like flat hair, and it feels extremely soft. Now, if you have limp hair, it probably falls right after styling or washing it. It lacks body and movement. Your hair may feel greasy even like right after washing it, and it may feel thin or overly soft. If you have dull hair, it probably feels dry and rough to the touch and lack any kind of shine. I keep referring to my hair, but that's kind of my hair. It lacks smoothness when you run your fingers through it, and your strands might look rough and uneven in the light. Okay, so how does your hair respond to humidity? If it frizzes up, it has high porosity, and if it doesn't hold a style at all, you probably have low porosity hair. On to your scalp. Scalp health is number one, so let's evaluate our scalp. Dry scalp is usually tight and uncomfortable, and you have flakes that are a little bit white, and you have itching that worsens either in dry, cold weather or with really harsh shampoos. An itchy scalp is what it sounds like, just like uncontrollable itch, and you can sometimes have flakes, but sometimes you don't. If it's more like inflamed and irritated, it could be more of like an allergy or a dermatitis. If it's like flakes, then it could be more towards the dandruff side. Oily scalp is just what it sounds like. Your hair is slick, it's clumping together, it looks dirty, and it looks overly slick, and you could even have some flakes along with it. Do you notice dandruff or product buildup? Dandruff is more of a dry scalp and has white powdery flakes, whereas product buildup can also be dry and irritated, but it will have more of like a greasy, oily type of flake that is usually a little bit larger. Now, I want you to also figure out what frustrates you most about your hair. Is it that it lacks shine, that it just breaks and it doesn't grow, that it looks dull, that it doesn't hold a style, that it frizzes really bad. So take notes of that because that'll help with also figuring out our hair goals and our routine. Okay, now I want you to choose your hair goal. Most common goals are to get thicker hair, longer hair, just healthier hair overall, and to be able to hold a style or just be more manageable. So that is the end of the hair assessment. I hope that you took notes and figured out where your hair is at and figured out what hair goal you want, because in the next video, I'm gonna go over where my hair is at with the hair assessment, tell you my hair goals, and then from there, we're going to start with the most common hair goals and then break out the routines, and there's gonna be multiple videos. So follow along, check out the video that we did last week with the really quick, easy tips that you can implement today, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.